So 3 of my most popular videos on the channel are actually videos about helping solo players. The first one is Division 2 to solo players lessons for the Dark Zone. The second most viewed video is 6 lessons from a solo player. And then the third most viewed video on this channel is the solo player build guide. I enjoy making content for solo players, not just because I want to do it, but also because I'm actually an avid solo player. I enjoy the solo experience. Many people have doubted this, but they just don't really know because they're new to the channel, and so they probably haven't seen these videos. These videos were made about a year ago to about 11 months ago. So if you want to check them out, go on the channel page. You'll see them on my most popular videos, and you can watch them for yourselves and see. Now, Title Update 8 has been released and the game has changed, and I've decided to go around and actually make a brand new solo player guide that's going to kind of help solo players as they go on through the game, because a lot of players enjoy this game by themselves. They really don't want to go through the matchmaking and want to just enjoy that accomplishment of being able to take on many of these missions themselves. And so that's exactly why I want to make this. Now, in order for me to be able to do so, I went ahead and created a new account, boosted a character level 30, and then leveled that character up by myself through level 40 solo, and then I matchmade for Liberty Island because I wanted to get into the end game and start to play. Largely, a lot of the things though that I made in my other videos are still very relevant till today, but because a lot of our player base may not have seen these videos, I feel it's very pertinent for us to talk about these things in today's video. So, what are the different things that may help solo players, whether new or even old, to be able to go through this game? The first thing is patience. Now, by the time you're watching this video, there's most likely a patch that's been set towards the game to tweak the difficulty in different ways. Nonetheless, solo players are still going to have to deal with a huge barrier to taking on some of the most difficult content in the game. What does that mean? It does mean that the playstyle for a lot of players is going to have to change. For those who may be running missions in very short period of time, about 18 minutes, you might have to go ahead and tweak your playstyle slightly in order for you to be able to maintain that kind of playstyle, in order for you to be able to finish these missions and beat them successfully. For those who are playing missions for about an hour because you're taking your time and you're patient, patience is still going to work for you nonetheless. And I can just say that this patience can be applied to every single facet of the game. Even if the damage modifiers may be tweaked, I still think the content is going to provide a challenge for enemy NPCs, because if they tweak the damage modifiers, guess what? AI intelligence and AI aggressiveness might still remain the same, and that is still one thing you'll have to deal with, and patience is going to help you to hang back and be able to pick off enemy NPCs before they get to you. If you're surrounded, there usually is a problem for you to get out of those situations. And this is the very first thing that we talk about. We talk about this both in solo play, and we even talk about it in group play. Many players think they're Rambo, they run into all kinds of gunfire and realize that this game is quite different from a lot of other games. Enemy NPCs will destroy a player. And even still, enemy NPC AI is designed to be able to counter your playstyle. So even if they may not have as much damage, you also have to think about the different kinds of ways that they counter you. In some examples, you see an enemy NPC from a faction that's capable of doing certain things to staunch your own playstyle, but we'll discuss that in enemy types when we get there. Now that we've talked about patience, let's look at preparation. Preparation is key in Tom Clancy's Division 2. You cannot go in with a trashy build and expect much to come out of it. You have to farm, and you have to farm very well. This is where the solo player will have to break away from the solo mindset in regard to this particular patch. If you want to farm, fill up your library, get your rolls as fast as you possibly can, then you're going to have to click that matchmaking button so that you can get into groups of players and be able to run through content fast and efficiently for you to be able to stock up your recalibration library, your stash, and even your player character with some of the very best gear that you can find. Yes, RNG is mad crazy, and sometimes it's very difficult to get items that you need or items that you want. But if you look very closely, one of the really interesting things you're going to find is most likely the game will start dropping things for you that start making up a pattern. And with the new targeted loot system, you can jump into a mission and farm for a specific set of items even though they may not be the best of quality, you can start from there and then eventually start to build your character. In my example, for my new solo character, what I did was I started getting Murakami rolls, and I started getting some really, good rolls about this. And so what I did immediately was I made a partial healer build and a partial skill damage build right off the bat. I was able to jump into missions and literally carry teams of people with shade levels way higher than mine, but it's something where we already have a lot of experience. So I already had a lot of experience coming into it, and so I just leveraged that and used that immediately. By the time I'd already played all the way through shade level 40, I found that I actually had no need for using weapons, because the playstyle I'd adopted was much fun, and all I had to do was continue to fine-tune it and be able to take on different missions as I went through. Now, my builds are capable of taking me through solo play, but then we have to look at the next level, which is your power creep, which is the third thing that a solo player has to understand when they're going into this game. And that's the fact that when you start playing solo, you have to actually start creeping up on the power level to understand exactly what you're going into. Now, missions and the open world difficulties are very different. In a mission, you're playing a very controlled aspect of the game. You can run through a mission in heroic difficulty by yourself, and the mission will be fun. And that's because you know things like enemy spawns, you know areas where you can take cover, you have enemy NPCs usually in your line of sight. But in the open world, it's very different. If you change the open world difficulty to challenging or heroic, and enemy NPCs are running at you from all corners, then you are in a big world of hurt, because every single one of them is going to be hitting like a heroic level NPC. And think about it, you have very little opportunity for cover. You have to play very differently, in some cases running miles and miles and miles away from enemy NPCs in order for you to catch your breath. And this is where a lot of players are taking that aspect of the game, saying heroic may be too difficult for a lot of people, but we have to understand that no one has explained necessarily that the heroic open living world is actually where it's very different, and it's the jungle out there. So when you're playing your heroic open world and you want to do a level 4 control point and the entire world is set in open difficulty, note that there might be an enemy patrol that's just there carrying cans of water or cans of food, and they will all be heroic. And if they jump into your own mission or your control point, then you now have more heroic enemy NPCs to deal with, which is usually what takes about 35 to 40 minutes for people to do their level 4 control points in some cases, not all the time. But this power creep is something that a solo player needs to understand. And then another aspect that will help a solo player is understanding enemy types. Enemy types in Tom Clancy's The Division 2 have actually changed. They've transformed. You now have the Black Tusks with different kinds of, drones, or did I say drones? I mean warhounds. I'm going to say warhounds. The warhounds do different things, even though they're tweaking them a little bit here with the new patch coming up. It's something that every player still needs to take time to pay attention to. Some warhounds are machine minigunners. Some warhounds will shoot shot grenades at you. Some warhounds are grenade launchers. All kinds of things. Your goal is to be able to build specifically to help you. There are a lot of tools in the Division game. There are a lot of things within the specializations that are hidden in order to help you to be able to do well against these different enemy types, which will lead to you actually going out of your comfort zone to build slightly differently to be able to counter these mechanics with too much ease. The moment you get to that point, especially with the technician specialization, that specialization is designed to counter a lot of what the Black Tusks do. And if you go with that technician specialization, you build with it, there are benefits that you can get, especially now that the developers have actually said that the support stations are now going to have a higher chance to be placed in the open, and EMP grenades are able to stun them for a little bit. That provides a whole world of variety gameplay for a lot of players. You can get into a Black Tusk mission. When they drop a support station, you can toss an EMP grenade in there and then do your job and take out NPCs, even take out the healer themselves, or even try to get in and take in the support station itself. So these things help in terms of doing well. Now, another aspect for the solo player that a lot of solo players may not consider or are considering and are putting into practice is experimentation. Ladies and gentlemen, as a solo player, your job is to mix and match. You'll probably need to have multiple builds with you as you're going along the way. Sometimes it may be wise when you want to maybe go take a control point that has specific enemy types that you just switch your build in a safe house or somewhere in order for you to be able to go. But that comes with experimentation. Sometimes you're going to go out there by yourself because you're the only one Even the base of operations firing range doesn't really give you a snapshot of how fast these NPCs move, doesn't give you a snapshot of their counter tactics that they have. And so going out in there and taking your time to fight with them and understanding all the different aspects is something that comes with the territory. Everything the solo player does takes longer than the average player who's always matchmaking with a group, but it's always well worth it, because that's exactly what you want to do. You want to be a solo player and you want to take on all the content just by yourself. So experimenting is where it actually is for you, which leads me into another aspect of being a solo player, which is research. I've seen a lot of comments in my videos talking about how it's very difficult for you to make a shield build that is not easily scattered. But I think there are a few misconceptions about that. The first one is a shield build is not supposed to keep you invincible. The shield has a number of health. Yes, the enemy NPCs do hit a lot, but one of the really interesting things about a shield build is it's nice for a shield build to be accompanied by a healing station which can do the job, or some kind of a healing artifact that can help you to recover health across the board. That is health to you and health to your shield. Right now, there's actually a shield build that's been done by a YouTuber who has a very small channel that is basically unbreakable in legendary missions. I had somebody say that this was a thing, and another person doubted them, and I put the link to it because I just was accidentally running around YouTube and I found this particular video. Now, the video is on a bulwark shield that's best used in a group play. Now, when you want to use your striker shield or your other shields that allow for you to mount automatic weapons, note that this is not going to keep you invincible, or it's not going to keep you from taking damage to enemy NPCs. They have their shortcomings and they've been designed that way for you to still be able to take headshot damage and damage to your feet. So understand these mechanics before actually going out there to use them, and understand how they may be beneficial for your gameplay. This research is the solo player taking the time to go around and gather information and understanding what may be helpful for them to do well. I made a video about armor regeneration, and a lot of people said armor regeneration is not really that good on a build. But there is a slew of players who would largely disagree, because they're running anywhere from 40 to 57,000 armor regeneration. And as a solo player, how can your armor automatically coming back by itself not be a good thing? I mean, this really blows my mind, how in the community, sometimes the trends are usually stacked towards the instant type of things. A lot of people are not necessarily used to playing that laid back, chill gameplay style. You know, the aggression is really hot there. But I know many solo players in this community are enjoying the mechanics in the game that make things really fun. So what I want to do is I want to open the floor to the solo players who have a lot of veterancy. Those of you who've beaten all these missions, who've already gone through the solo grind and just endured all the damage and all the whatever nonsense the NPCs have actually poured on you, and have come out successful and understood more about the game. In the comment section, leave some tips, leave some aspects of the game that you've actually been exploring, even leave your build as a solo player. This is possible to help maybe new solo players or people who may not necessarily understand a lot of the mechanics in the game, who are new. And even for those who are wanting to dabble into solo play or wanting to double down on their solo play, this might also help them. I know I did mention that there might be the aspect where you actually hit that matchmake to go farm, but this is one of the best ways to get things very fast for you to continue to enhance your solo play, or you can go the hard way and get these solo items. Now, for the final tidbit, a lot of people are misconceived that getting the best gear and the best items only have to be on the hardest difficulty in the game. That is absolutely false. You can get max rolled items, even exotics, in whatever difficulty that you're playing in the open world, or in most cases in missions. Do not let that be a problem. Now, yes, there are specific missions at specific difficulties that grant specific items, but these are not limited to the gear and brand sets and their stats that you can get. Let's get this clear in the community. I get a lot of max rolled items just running the open world on normal. It does take a little bit of time, yes, but one of the worst things that can happen is you playing on the more challenging open world missions and be getting crap because the RNG is all over the place. Instead, you could just play maybe like hard, farm there, use that gear, and go take on the harder difficulties within the game. Anyways, this is my video. I appreciate you guys for listening to it. Thank you so much for your time and audience. For those who are veterans, do like we've said, put it in the comment section and help new solo players. And I guess I'll see you in the next video. Peace.